Captain Ji-woo Kim stood on the bridge of the human exploration ship Resilience. The stars looked different here, far from Earth. She had been exploring space for 10 years, but something felt wrong today. Her ship was moving through empty space when a weak signal came through the communication system. "Captain," said Communications Officer Hana Song, looking up from her station, "I'm getting a distress signal. It's very weak and old, maybe 3 months old." Ji-woo walked over to Hana's station. The young officer had learned 17 different alien languages during her time in space. If anyone could understand a strange signal, it was her. "What does it say?" Ji-woo asked. Hana worked on her computer for several minutes. Her face grew sad as she translated the message. "It's from the Kithara homeworld. They're asking for help. They say they're dying and the galaxy has abandoned them. Commander Minho." Park, the ship's tactical officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, the Kithara worlds are under total quarantine. No ships are allowed to go there. Earth Command was very clear about this." Ji-woo knew the rules. The Kithara had once been important members of the Galactic Council. Their 3 worlds were beautiful, covered with cities made of crystal that sparkled in the sunlight. But then, something terrible happened. A disease called the Void Plague started killing them. The plague turned their silicon-based bodies into lifeless stone. Within months, billions of Kithara died. The big powers in the galaxy, the Hegemony, the Federation, and others, were scared. They said the plague was too dangerous. They put the Kithara worlds under quarantine. No ships could go in or out. No help was allowed. The galaxy left them to die alone. "How many Kithara are left?" Ji-woo asked. Hana listened to more of the signal. "The message says maybe a few thousand. Captain, they used to have billions of people." Dr. Yoonji Lee, the ship's xenobiologist, came onto the bridge. She was young but very smart about alien life forms. "Captain, I've been studying the reports about the Void Plague. Something doesn't make sense about it." "What do you mean?" Ji-woo asked. "The plague acts too perfectly," Yoonji said. "It only affects Kithara biology. It doesn't hurt any other species. Natural diseases usually aren't so specific." Engineer Tae-hyun Choi joined the conversation. He was always fixing things and making them work better. "If Dr. Lee is right, maybe we can help them. Human medicine might work differently than what the galaxy tried before." Minho shook his head. "Captain, our orders are clear. We're supposed to map this sector and return to Earth. We're not supposed to go anywhere near quarantine zones." Ji-woo looked at the star map. The Kithara homeworld was only 2 days away. She thought about the weak distress signal. Someone was still alive there, still hoping for help after months of silence. "Hana, can you clean up that signal? I want to hear it myself." Hana worked her magic with the communication system. Soon, a voice came through the speakers. It was beautiful and sad, like music made of crystal. Even though Ji-woo couldn't understand the words, she could hear the pain and hope mixed together. "What are they saying?" she asked. Hana's eyes filled with tears as she translated. "They're saying, 'Is anyone listening? We are the last children of Kithara. We are alone in the dark. If someone can hear this, please remember that we tried to be good. Please remember that we existed.'" The bridge became very quiet. Everyone stared at the communication station as the message repeated over and over. "That's not a distress call," Ji-woo said softly. "That's a goodbye message." Tae-hyun spoke up. "Captain, we have enough supplies for a month. Our medical bay has the latest human technology. Maybe we can at least try to help." "The quarantine exists for a reason," Minho said. "What if we bring the plague back to human space? What if we make things worse?" Dr. Yoonja stepped forward. "Commander Park, I've studied every report about the Void Plague. It only affects silicon-based life forms. Humans are carbon-based. We should be safe from infection." Ji-woo walked to the main viewing screen. Stars filled the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, the last survivors of an entire civilization were dying alone. The galaxy had decided they weren't worth saving. "Hana, send a message back," Ji-woo said. "Tell them that the human ship Resilience is coming to help." Minho stood up. Captain, this goes against direct orders from Earth Command. I know, Jiwoo said. But leaving people to die when we might be able to help goes against everything we believe in as humans. She turned to face her crew. I won't order anyone to come with me, this is dangerous. But I'm going to the Cathara homeworld. Anyone who wants to stay here can take a shuttle back to the nearest human outpost. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Then Taehyun said, I'm with you, Captain. My tools can work on any technology. I need to study the plague, Dr. Yoonji said. Count me in. Hana nodded. Someone needs to talk to the survivors. I'm coming too. Everyone looked at Minho. The tactical officer was quiet for a long time. Finally, he sighed. Someone has to keep you all alive. I guess that someone is me. Jiwoo smiled. This was why she loved her crew. Set course for the Cathara homeworld. Maximum speed. As the Resilience changed direction, Hana continued working with the communication system. More messages were coming through. Some were very old from when the plague first started. Others were recent, growing weaker and fewer as time passed. Captain, Hana said, I'm getting a response to our message. A new voice came through the speakers. This one was different from the others, stronger but filled with disbelief. Hana translated, They say, unknown human vessel, you must leave this place. We are cursed. Death lives in our cities. Why do you come to join the dead? Jiwoo took the communication device from Hana. Tell them this. We come because no one should die alone. We come because that's who humans are. 2 days later, the Resilience dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Kithra homeworld. What they saw broke their hearts. The planet still looked beautiful from space. Crystal cities reflected sunlight like jewels. But there was no traffic between the cities, no ships in orbit, no signs of the busy civilization that once lived here. Life signs? Jiwoo asked. Dr. Yoonji checked her sensors. Very few. Maybe 3,000 individuals across the entire planet. Captain, there used to be 4 billion Cathara on this world alone. As they got closer, they could see the truth. Many of the crystal cities were dark and empty. Streets that once bustled with life were silent. Beautiful crystal gardens had turned gray and lifeless. There, Hana said, pointing to one of the smaller cities. I'm getting signals from there. They landed the Resilience outside the city. The crew put on protective suits and walked through empty streets. Crystal buildings rose around them like frozen music, but everything was too quiet. At the center of the city, they found them. About 200 Kithara gathered in what looked like a great hall. They were tall and graceful, with skin that sparkled, like living crystal. But many of them showed signs of the plague. Gray patches spread across their bodies where the disease was slowly turning them to stone. One of them stepped forward. This Kithara was tall and elegant, with crystal formations, growing from their head like a crown. When they spoke, their voice was like wind chimes. Hana translated, I am HFY, last speaker of the Kithara Council. You should not have come here, humans. We are already dead. We are just waiting for the end. Captain Jiwoo Kim removed her helmet, surprising everyone. I am Captain Kim of the human vessel Resilience. We received your messages. We came to help. HFY made a sound that might have been laughter or crying. Help? The greatest powers in the galaxy could not help us. The Federation's best scientists declared us hopeless. The hegemony's vast fleets turned away from our pleas. What can one human ship do that they could not? Jiwoo looked around at the dying Kithara. She saw fear in their crystalline eyes, but also a tiny spark of hope that they were trying hard to hide. I don't know, she said honestly. But we're here, and we're not leaving until we try everything we can. Dr. Yoonji Lee had never seen anything like the Cathara Medical Center. Everything was made of crystal that glowed with soft light. But the beauty was spoiled by the gray patches spreading across the walls where the void plague had touched them. HFY led the human crew through empty halls. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. This was our greatest hospital, the Cathara speaker explained through Hana's translation. 10,000 healers once worked here. Now, only I remain, And I am no healer. Yunji knelt beside a young Kithara, lying on a crystal bed. Half of their body had turned to lifeless stone. The other half still sparkled with living crystal, but gray veins were slowly spreading across their skin. How long does the change take? Yunji asked. 3 to 4 months, from first infection to complete stone death, HFY replied sadly. The plague moves slowly, so we have time to watch ourselves die. Yunji took out her medical scanner and ran it over the infected Kithara. The readings were strange. This isn't a normal disease, she said to Captain Kim. The plague is breaking down the quantum bonds that hold their silicon-based cells together. Meanwhile, Commander Minho Park was working with Taehyun Choi to set up communication equipment. The engineer was fascinated by Kithara technology. Look at this, Commander, Taehyun said, examining a crystal panel. Their whole civilization runs on harmonic resonance. Every building, every machine, even their computers work by vibrating at specific frequencies. Is that important? Minho asked. Maybe. If the plague affects their quantum structure, it might also disrupt these harmonic frequencies. Back in the medical center, Yunji was asking more questions. HFY, where did the plague come from? How did it start? The Kithara speaker's crystalline face grew sad. It began in our oldest city, the first colony. Our archaeologists found an ancient vault deep underground. When they opened it, the plague was released. What was in the vault? Records from the time of echoes when our ancestors fought the shadow builders. We thought it was just historical artifacts. We were wrong. Hana was working on translating more of the old distress calls. She found something interesting. Captain, I've been listening to the early messages from when the plague started. The Kythera tried to explain to the galaxy that this might not be a natural disease. What do you mean? Captain Kim asked. They thought it might be some kind of weapon, left behind by an old enemy, but nobody listened. The galaxy powers just declared quarantine and left. Dr. Yunji stopped her work and looked up. A weapon? That would explain why it's so specific to Kithara biology. HFY's crystal eyes widened. You believe us? The Federation scientists said we were making excuses. They said we were trying to avoid responsibility for creating the plague ourselves? That's horrible, Captain Kim said. They blamed you for your own extinction? The galaxy needed someone to blame, HFY replied. It was easier to say we caused our own problems than to risk helping us. Yunji spent the next several hours taking samples and running tests. Her portable lab was small compared to what the galaxy's big powers had available, but she worked differently than they did. Instead of staying far away and running remote scans, she got close to the problem. She touched the infected crystal, examined it under microscopes, and took detailed readings. I need to see where this started, she told Captain Kim. Can we go to the first colony? HFY looked worried. The first colony is where the plague is strongest. Even we Kithra cannot go there safely. But you said the plague doesn't affect humans, Captain Kim said. True, but the first colony holds other dangers. The shadow builders left many traps for their enemies. Captain Kim made her decision quickly. We'll take the risk. Yunji needs to study the source if we're going to find a cure. While they prepared for the trip to the first colony, Commander Minho Park was working on a different problem. He'd been scanning space around the Kithara worlds and found something troubling. Captain, I'm picking up signs of other species in distress, he reported. There's a system about 5 light-years from here. The signals are very weak. Hana worked to translate the new signals. It's a species called the Thornlings. They're asking for help too. They say the galaxy declared them economically unviable and stopped all trade with them. What does that mean? Taehyun asked. It means they decided the Thornlings weren't worth saving, Captain Kim said grimly. Just like the Kithara. HFY made a musical sound of surprise. The Thornlings still live? We thought they had died, out years ago when the trade routes were closed. How many species has the galaxy abandoned? Minho asked. More than you know, HFY replied. There are the Veil Dancers, whose sun flared and damaged their world. The Echo people, whose telepathic abilities scared the hegemony, the wandering clans, whose nomadic lifestyle was declared disruptive to commerce. All were cast aside. Captain Kim felt anger rising in her chest. The galaxy just throws away entire civilizations? The strong survive, the weak are forgotten, HFY said. This is the way of the galaxy. This has always been the way. Well, it's not the human way, Captain Kim said firmly. Hana, send messages to all those species. Tell them that humans are here and we want to help. Captain, Minho said carefully, we're just one ship. We can't save everyone. Maybe not, Captain Kim replied, but we can try. And maybe trying is enough to make a difference. The next day, they traveled to the first colony. The ancient city was a ruin of twisted crystal and broken spires. At the center stood a massive crater where the archaeologists had dug down to find the Shadow Builder vault. Dr. Yunji studied the site with her equipment. What she found changed everything. This isn't just a disease, she announced to the team. It's a self-replicating nano-weapon. The Shadow Builders designed it specifically to destroy silicon-based life. When the vault was opened, it detected Cathera DNA and activated after thousands of years. Can it be stopped? Captain Kim asked. Maybe, Yunja said excitedly. The weapon is designed to break quantum bonds, but human medical nanobots work differently. They might be able to repair the damage if we can find the right frequency. Taehyun looked up from where he was studying crystal formations. Frequency, that's the key. Everything here works on harmonic resonance. If we can find the right counter frequency, we might be able to reverse the plague. Yunja finished. They worked for 3 days straight. Yunja analyzed the nano-weapon, while Taehyun studied Cathara harmonic technology. Slowly, they began to understand how the two might work together. Back at the main city, Hana was receiving responses to their messages to other abandoned species. The Thornlings were overjoyed to hear from them. The Veil Dancers sent grateful thanks. The Echo people shared valuable information about galactic politics. Captain, Hana reported, the Echo people say that the galaxy powers are getting worried. Word is spreading that humans are helping abandoned species. Some of the major governments are calling emergency meetings. Let them worry, Captain Kim said. We have work to do. On the third day, Dr. Yunja made a breakthrough. Working with Taehyun's harmonic resonance theories, she created a prototype treatment. It used human medical nanobots programmed with Cathera harmonic frequencies to repair quantum bond damage. They tested it on a small sample of infected crystal. The gray, lifeless stone slowly began to clear. Healthy crystal grew back, sparkling with life. It works, Yunja whispered. It actually works. HFY couldn't believe what they were seeing. The galaxy's greatest scientists said it was impossible. The galaxy's scientists studied the problem from far away, Captain Kim said. They were afraid to get close. Fear makes you stupid. The first test subject was a young Cathera named Corusvel. Half of their body was already stone. Kunja injected the treatment and activated the harmonic resonance field. For an hour, nothing happened. Then slowly, the gray patches began to shrink. Living crystal spread across dead stone. The young Cathara's eyes opened wide with wonder. Can feel my arm again, Corusvel said through Hana's translation. The coldness is leaving. Word spread quickly through the surviving Cathara. People who had been preparing to die suddenly had hope again. The crystal city began to ring with harmonic music as the Cathara sang songs of joy they hadn't sung in months. But their celebration was interrupted by an urgent signal from space. Captain, Minho reported from the Resilience. We have ships approaching. Big ones. It's a hegemony battle group. Captain Kim looked at the scanner readings. 12 warships were heading toward the Cathera homeworld. Their message was simple and clear. Human vessel Resilience, you are in violation of quarantine protocols. Prepare to be boarded and your crew arrested. HFY trembled with fear. They will destroy everything. They will stop the cure from spreading. Captain Kim activated her ship's communication system and broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Kim of the human vessel Resilience. To any species that has been cast aside, forgotten, or abandoned by this galaxy, we stand with you. We are coming. Then she turned to her crew. It's time to see if one ship full of humans can change how the whole galaxy works. The Hegemony battle group arrived with 12 massive warships, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. Captain Jiwoo Kim stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching the enemy ships surround her small vessel. Her crew was calm but ready for anything. Incoming transmission, Hanasong reported. The main screen showed a reptilian alien in a gold uniform. Admiral Krell of the Hegemony Navy looked angry. Human vessel, you are in violation of galactic quarantine laws. Shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Captain Kim stepped forward. Admiral, we're providing medical aid to a dying species. Since when is saving lives against the law? Since those lives threaten the safety of the galaxy, Krell replied coldly. The Kythera plague could spread and kill billions. Your interference ends now. The plague only affects silicon-based life, Dr. Yoonji Lee said, joining the conversation. We found a cure. No one else needs to die. Admiral Krell's scaled face twisted into a sneer. Impossible. Our best scientists studied this plague for months. There is no cure. Your scientists studied it from safe distances, Captain Kim replied. We got close enough to actually help. Down on the planet, Zephyr High and the other surviving Kythera watched the confrontation in space. The Crystal City's harmonic amplifiers let them see and hear everything happening above. The humans will be destroyed because they tried to help us, Zephyr High said sadly. We should surrender to save them. But Chorusvel, the young Kythera who had been cured first, stepped forward. Their crystal skin now sparkled with healthy light. No, the humans didn't give up on us. We won't give up on them. Other cured Kythera joined Chorusvel. There were only 20 of them so far, but their voices joined together in a harmonic song that made the Crystal City glow brighter. In space, something unexpected happened. Ships began arriving from other star systems. First came 3 small vessels with strange designs. Then more ships appeared, all different shapes and sizes. Captain, Minho Park reported, we're getting multiple contacts. I count 15 ships now, with more arriving. Hana worked frantically at her communication station. The Thornlings have sent their agricultural ships. The Veil Dancers brought their energy vessels. Even the Echo people have come despite their fear of technology. Admiral Krell looked confused as more and more ships surrounded his battle group. These weren't military vessels, but they outnumbered the Hegemony fleet 2-1. Unknown vessels. Disperse immediately or face destruction, Krell commanded. The response came from multiple ships at once. Hana translated. The Thornlings say, we stand with the humans who fed us. The Veil Dancers say, we protect those who gave us hope. The Echo people say, we shield the minds that think of others first. Captain Kim felt pride swelling in her chest. These species had risked everything to come here, just because humans had offered to help them. Admiral Krell, she broadcast, you're outnumbered, but we don't want to fight. We want to talk. There is nothing to discuss, Krell replied. Stand down or be destroyed. That's when the real surprise came. 3 more ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, but these were different. They were sleek human vessels with Earth military markings. Captain Kim, came a familiar voice over the communication system. This is Admiral Seongmin Yoon aboard the Determination. Sorry, we're late to the party. Jiwoo couldn't believe her eyes. Admiral Yoon had been her mentor at the Space Academy. Admiral, what are you doing here? Earth Command received your broadcasts, Admiral Yoon explained. The politicians argued for 3 days about what to do. Then the people of Earth started demanding action. They said any species brave enough to help the abandoned deserves our support. More human ships appeared. The courage, the defiance, the hope. Soon there were 8 human vessels alongside the alien ships. Admiral Krell looked at the growing fleet with obvious concern. His battle group was still powerful, but they were now vastly outnumbered. This is madness, he transmitted. You're risking galactic war over a few dying species. We're preventing galactic shame, Admiral Yoon replied. History will remember, who stood by while others suffered, and who chose to help. On the planet below, Dr. Yunja was working with Taehyun Choi and several Kithra scientists to mass-produce the cure. The harmonic resonance technology was complex, but Taehyun's human engineering skills helped them build production devices faster than anyone thought possible. "How many can we cure per day?" Captain Kim asked during a brief break from the space standoff. "About 50 per day with our current setup," Yunja replied. "But Taehyun has ideas for scaling up production." The engineer nodded enthusiastically. "The Kithera harmonic technology is amazing. If we combine it with human manufacturing techniques, we could cure thousands per day." "The Thornlings have also shared their biological expertise," Hana added. "They understand organic systems in ways that complement our nanobots." As the cure spread, something beautiful began happening. The crystal cities started coming alive again. Kithera, who had been stone for months, were walking and singing. The harmonic resonance of their joy made the very buildings glow with renewed light. But the cure was just the beginning. The alliance of abandoned species was sharing knowledge and resources in ways that surprised everyone. The veiled dancers had developed energy manipulation techniques that helped power the medical devices. The Echo people's telepathic abilities let them coordinate rescue efforts across multiple star systems without using traditional communications. The Thornlings provided food and biological materials that human medicine couldn't synthesize alone. "We're building something new here," Captain Kim realized. "Not just curing the plague, but creating a whole new way for species to work together." The breakthrough came when they combined all their technologies. Human medical nanobots powered by Veil Dancer energy systems, guided by Echo People telepathic coordination, and supplied with Thornling biological compounds, could not only cure the Kithera plague, but adapt to help other species as well. In space, Admiral Krell was receiving urgent messages from Hegemony Command. Other abandoned species were broadcasting news of the Alliance across the galaxy. Trade guilds were expressing interest in the new technologies being developed. Even some Federation worlds were asking questions about joining the coalition. "Captain Kim," Admiral Krell finally said, "the Hegemony Council wishes to negotiate." "I'm listening," Captain Kim replied. "Cease your activities and return to human space. In exchange, the Hegemony will provide limited aid to the Kithara." Captain Kim looked at the tactical display. Dozens of ships from abandoned species surrounded them. Below on the planet, thousands of Kithara were being cured. This was about much more than one species now. "Counteroffer," she said. "The galaxy recognizes the right of all species to exist and receive aid when needed. In exchange, we share our technologies and knowledge freely." "Impossible. You're asking us to abandon thousands of years of galactic law. I'm asking you to remember that laws are supposed to protect people, not abandon them." The standoff continued for 2 more days. During that time, more ships arrived from both sides. The Hegemony brought reinforcements, but so did the coalition. Species that had been written off as extinct or irrelevant kept appearing with offers of help. The turning point came when the Archive Keepers arrived. These ancient beings were the galaxy's most respected neutral observers. They had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations over millions of years. Their ship was small and simple, but when they spoke, everyone listened. "We have observed these events," the Archive Keeper announced. "The humans and their allies have demonstrated a principle that the galaxy has forgotten. The strength of a civilization is measured not by what it can take, but by what it can give." Admiral Krell tried to object. "The Archive Keepers should not interfere in political matters." "We do not interfere," the Archive Keeper replied. "We simply record truth. And the truth is that this alliance has achieved in days what the established powers could not achieve in years. They have turned death into life, despair into hope, abandonment into belonging." The Archive Keeper's ship broadcast a message across the galaxy. "Let it be recorded that on this day the Sanctuary Coalition was born. Let it be known that some chose compassion over convenience, courage over comfort." Within hours, applications for membership in the Sanctuary Coalition were coming from dozens of species. Some were abandoned worlds seeking help. Others were established civilizations that wanted to be part of something better. Admiral Krell looked at his tactical screens. His battle group was now surrounded by over 100 ships. More were arriving every hour. The political situation was slipping away from the hegemony faster than they could respond. "Captain Kim," he said quietly, "what do you want?" "I want a galaxy where no one dies alone," she replied. "I want a place where being different doesn't mean being disposable. I want to build something better than what we found." She paused, then added, "And I want you to join us, Admiral. The galaxy is big enough for everyone." Admiral Krell was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "I will convey your message to the Hegemony Council." As his ships prepared to leave, one of them stayed behind. It was a science vessel commanded by a young hegemony officer who requested permission to observe the cure being administered. Change starts with one person at a time. The emergency session of the Hegemony Council was unlike anything in galactic history. Representatives from 12 major powers gathered in the massive chamber on the capital world of Dominion Prime. The room buzzed with angry voices speaking, in dozens of languages. Chancellor Vexamorian, a tall insectoid being with 4 arms, called for order. His voice echoed through the chamber. "Fellow council members, we face an unprecedented crisis. The humans have violated every established protocol and created chaos across multiple sectors." Prime Minister Lysandra of the Federation leaned forward. Her blue skin flickered with emotional patterns. "The situation is worse than chaos. It's rebellion. Species we declared unviable are now thriving. Trade routes we closed are reopening. The Human Sanctuary Coalition threatens our entire system of governance." "What exactly has changed?" asked Senator Mordak from the Hegemony's military command. His reptilian eyes were cold and calculating. Chancellor Vexamorian activated a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. "In 6 months, the humans have established permanent aid stations in 47 abandoned systems. They have cured not only the Cathera plague but also helped solve problems for dozens of other species." The display showed images that shocked the council members. The Kythera homeworld now blazed with life, its crystal cities more beautiful than ever. But they were different now. Integrated with organic architecture from the Thornlings, energy sculptures from the Veil Dancers, and structures that could only be human in origin. "Parks," whispered Councillor Jelva in amazement. "They built parks where people gather just to enjoy each other's company. Cafes," added another councillor. "Places where different species share food and stories." "It's unnatural," Chancellor Vexamorian declared. "Different species should not mix so freely. It disrupts the natural order." But even as he spoke, more images appeared. Kythera children played with human youngsters in crystal gardens. Thornling farmers worked alongside human agricultural specialists to grow crops that could feed multiple species. Veil Dancers shared their energy manipulation techniques with human engineers to build impossible structures that defied traditional physics. "How many ships do they have now?" asked Admiral Krell, who had returned from his confrontation with Captain Kim. "Over 300 vessels," Senator Mordak replied grimly. "Not all of them military, but their combined fleet is larger than any single power in the galaxy. Worse," added Prime Minister Lysandra, 17 of our own Federation worlds have applied to join their coalition. Our people are abandoning us to follow humans." The council chamber erupted in angry discussions. Some called for immediate military action. Others worried about the political consequences of attacking what many citizens now saw as heroes. During the debate, a new voice spoke. It was soft but clear, cutting through the noise. "Perhaps we should ask ourselves why so. Many choose to leave us." Everyone turned to look at the speaker. It was Councillor Wenhai, one of the oldest members of the Hegemony Council. She rarely spoke during meetings, but when she did, others listened. "Councillor Wenhai," Chancellor Vexamorian said carefully, "surely you don't support this human rebellion?" "I support survival," the old councillor replied. "I have watched civilizations rise and fall for 400 years. Those that adapt survive. Those that refuse to change become extinct." She gestured to the holographic display. "What do you see when you look at these images?" "Chaos," said Prime Minister Lysandra. "Disorder, added Senator Mordak. I see strength, Counselor Wenhai said quietly. I see species that were dying now thriving. I see technologies being shared instead of hoarded. I see cooperation instead of competition. You see weakness, Chancellor Vexmorian insisted. The strong should rule the weak. That is the way of nature. Then explain why the weak humans have built something that attracts our own citizens, Counselor Wenhai replied. Meanwhile, in the Andorra system, the Sanctuary Coalition was growing stronger every day. Admiral Jiwoo Kim, now promoted to fleet, Admiral of the Coalition, stood in what had once been an empty conference room. Now it bustled with representatives from 70 different species. The trade guilds are requesting permission to establish routes through our territories, reported Commander Minho Park, who had become her chief of staff. They're offering very favorable terms. What about the hegemony's response? Admiral Kim asked. Hana Song looked up from her communication station. She had been promoted to chief communications officer and now managed a network that spanned hundreds of worlds. Mixed signals. Some hardliners are calling for war, but others are suggesting negotiation. Dr. Yoonja Lee entered the room carrying a data pad. She now served as the Coalition's chief science officer, coordinating research projects across multiple species. Admiral, I have the latest reports from our medical stations. Good news, I hope? Better than good. We've not only cured all remaining cases of the Kythera plague, but our combined technologies have solved agricultural problems for the Thornlings, energy shortages for the Veil Dancers, and communication issues for the Echo people. Engineer Taehyun Choi joined them, wearing a smile that hadn't left his face in months. He was now the Coalition's chief technology officer, managing the most diverse engineering team in galactic history. Admiral, you need to see what we've built, he said excitedly. They walked to the observation deck of their new headquarters, a massive station orbiting the Kythera homeworld. What they saw took Admiral Kim's breath away. The station itself was a marvel of combined technologies. Human structural engineering supported Kythera crystal growth chambers. Veil Dancer energy systems powered Thornling biological processors. Echo People telepathic networks coordinated everything in real time, but it was more than technology. Looking through the transparent walls, Admiral Kim could see beings from dozens of species working side by side. A human child was learning to speak Kythera harmonic language from an elderly crystal being. Thornling farmers were teaching Veil Dancers about soil cultivation. Echo People were sharing their telepathic meditation techniques with anyone who wanted to learn. We've built something that never existed before, Taehyun said proudly. A place where being different makes you valuable, not unwanted. Their moment of celebration was interrupted by an urgent alert. Minho rushed to the nearest communication panel. Admiral, we have a massive fleet approaching, he reported. It's not just hegemony ships. The Federation is there too, and the Crescents, and at least 6 other major powers. Through the station's sensors, they could see hundreds of warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. It was the largest military force assembled in generations. Are they here to fight? Admiral Kim asked. Unknown, Minho replied. They're maintaining battle formation but haven't targeted us yet. The main communication screen activated, showing Chancellor Vexmorian flanked by leaders from every major galactic power. His forearms were spread in what looked like either a gesture of greeting or a threat. Admiral Kim, he said formally, the Galactic Council requests an immediate meeting to discuss the current situation. I'm listening, Admiral Kim replied. You have violated quarantine laws, disrupted established trade routes, and encouraged rebellion across multiple sectors. These actions cannot continue. Admiral Kim looked at her staff. They had expected this moment but hoped it would never come. What do you propose, Chancellor? Dissolve your coalition, return the abandoned species to their designated quarantine zones, cease all technological sharing agreements. In exchange, we will allow humans to return to Earth space without punishment. The offer hung in the air like a poison cloud. Admiral Kim could feel the tension from her crew and the alien representatives watching the conversation. Counteroffer, she said calmly. Recognize the Sanctuary Coalition as an equal partner in galactic governance. Establish the right of all species to exist and receive aid when needed. Open all quarantine zones to medical and humanitarian assistance. Chancellor Veximorian's insectoid face showed something that might have been amusement. You are in no position to make demands, Admiral. Our fleet numbers over 800 ships. You have perhaps half that number. Numbers aren't everything, Admiral Kim replied. That's when the real surprise came. Ships began appearing around the galactic fleet, not military vessels, but civilian craft from dozens of species, trade ships, exploration vessels, even passenger liners. They came from Federation worlds, hegemony colonies, and independent systems. What is this? Chancellor Vexmorian demanded. Hana worked frantically at her communication station. Admiral, I'm receiving transmissions from over 2,000 civilian vessels. They're all saying the same thing, which is, we stand with the Sanctuary Coalition. Admiral Kim smiled. Chancellor, you're right that numbers matter, but you miscounted. The civilian ships had no weapons, but their message was clear. Citizens from across the galaxy supported what the Coalition represented. They were willing to risk everything to defend the idea that no species should be abandoned. This is unprecedented, Prime Minister Lysandra said, her blue skin flickering with confusion. This is evolution, Admiral Kim replied. The galaxy is changing, whether you accept it or not. Chancellor Veximorian was quiet for several minutes, consulting with other council members. Finally, he spoke again. The negotiations lasted for 3 months. Representatives from the Sanctuary Coalition met with the Galactic Council on the neutral station of Haven Point, deep in the space between galaxies. Fleet Admiral Jiwoo Kim led the Coalition delegation, while Chancellor Vexmorian spoke for the established powers. The talks were difficult. Both sides had strong opinions about how the galaxy should work. But progress was being made when everything changed. Admiral Kim, Commander Minho Park's voice crackled through the emergency communication system. We have a code black situation. Unknown hostiles have entered the galaxy from dark space. Admiral Kim was in the middle of a heated discussion about trade rights when the alert came through. She looked at Chancellor Vexmorian across the negotiation table. His forearms were twitching with nervousness. What kind of hostiles? She asked Minho. The kind that eat stars, he replied grimly. The negotiation room fell silent. Every species in the galaxy knew stories about the Devourers, ancient beings that fed on stellar energy and left empty void behind them. Most considered them myths, or legends from the early days of galactic civilization. Chancellor Veximorian activated his personal communication device. Command, report. The response was immediate and terrifying. Chancellor, we confirm hostile contact with entities matching Devari descriptions. They have already consumed the Kelt system. Estimated time to reach major population centers. 6 weeks. Admiral Kim stood up. The negotiations are suspended. We have a galaxy to save. Agreed, Chancellor Vexmorian replied. The hegemony offers full military cooperation, as does the Federation, added Prime Minister Lysandra, who had joined the talks via hologram. But when the combined fleets engaged the Devourers 3 days later, their weapons proved useless. The ancient entities absorbed energy attacks and grew stronger. Kinetic weapons passed through their dark matter bodies without effect. Conventional tactics failed completely. We've lost 17 ships in the first hour, Admiral Krell reported, from his flagship. These things are impossible to fight. Admiral Kim watched the battle from the bridge of her command ship, the Unity. The vessel was a perfect example of Coalition technology, human engineering supporting Cathara crystal processors, powered by Veil Dancer energy systems, and coordinated through Echo People telepathic networks. Dr. Yunja, she said, to her chief science officer, what are we dealing with? Dr. Yunja Lee studied the sensor readings with growing concern. The Devourers aren't just eating energy, Admiral. They're feeding on negative emotions, fear, despair, hopelessness. The more afraid our people become, the stronger the Devourers grow. That explains why conventional tactics aren't working, Engineer Taehyun Choi added. Military strategy is based on intimidation and overwhelming force. But intimidation creates fear, and fear makes them stronger. Hana Song looked up from her communication station. Admiral, I'm monitoring communications from the fleeing civilian populations. The panic is spreading faster than the devourers themselves. Admiral Kim made a decision that surprised everyone. All ships, cease fire, withdraw. To safe distance. Admiral Krell protested over the communication channel. We can't retreat now. We're not retreating, Admiral Kim replied. We're changing tactics. She opened a broadcast to every ship in the combined fleet, from massive hegemony dreadnoughts to tiny coalition support vessels. Everyone listen carefully, she began. These creatures feed on fear and despair, so we're going to give them something they can't digest. Hope. What do you mean? Chancellor Vexamorian asked. I mean, we tell them who we are, Admiral Kim said. We remind them that this galaxy refused to give up on the Kithara when everyone said they were doomed. We remember that the Thornlings survived when the trade routes closed. We celebrate that the Veil Dancers rebuilt their world after their sun flared. She paused, then continued with growing passion. We show them that we took species the galaxy threw away and built something beautiful. We demonstrate that hope isn't just an emotion, it's a force that creates miracles. What happened next became legend across the galaxy. Instead of firing weapons, the coalition ships began broadcasting their stories. Kithara survivors sang harmonic songs about being cured of an incurable plague. Thornling farmers shared tales of feeding millions with improved crops. Veil dancers showed images of their rebuilt cities, more beautiful than ever. Human crew members talked about finding purpose by helping others. They spoke of friendships formed across species barriers. They shared their vision of a galaxy where no one was abandoned. The effect on the devourers was immediate and dramatic. The dark entities, which had been growing larger and more powerful, began to shrink. Their void black forms flickered and dimmed. It's working, Dr. Yunja reported with amazement. Their energy signatures are decreasing. Hope really is poisonous. To them. But the devourers weren't finished. They changed tactics, targeting individual ships with concentrated despair attacks, trying to break the coalition's resolve. That's when Zephyr High's voice came over the communication system from the Kithara homeworld. The crystal speaker had become the coalition's spiritual leader, and their words carried across space to every listening ear. Ancient devourers, Zephyr High said, their harmonic voice ringing like crystal bells. You feed on despair, but look around you. We were told we were worthless and we believed it. Then humans asked a different question, not what are you worth, but what do you need? The speaker's words were joined by other voices. Chorus Vel, the first cured Kithara, spoke of resurrection from living death. Thornling farmers described crops growing in impossible soil. Veil dancers sang of light returning after darkness. You cannot feast here, Zephyr High continued. We have learned that even the abandoned can find family. Even the dying can find healing. Even the forgotten can find hope. The combined broadcast reached every ship and every world in the galaxy. Beings who had never worked together before joined their voices to the chorus. Federation citizens spoke of learning from their mistakes. Hegemony soldiers talked about finding honor in protection rather than conquest. The devourers began to retreat. Their dark forms collapsed inward as hope starved them of the despair they needed to survive. One by one, they fled back into the empty space between galaxies. They're withdrawing, Minho reported with disbelief. All contacts are moving away from galactic space at maximum speed. Admiral Kim opened a final broadcast to the ancient entities. You're not welcome here anymore. We've built something you can't understand and can't consume. Find somewhere else to feed. In the aftermath of the Devourer crisis, the galaxy was forever changed. The old powers couldn't ignore what had happened. The Sanctuary Coalition's principles had literally saved civilization. The Sanctuary Accords were signed on the Kithara homeworld 6 months later. The Crystal Cities had become the new center of galactic governance, a place where all species had equal voice regardless of their size or military power. HFY delivered the closing address to representatives from over 300 species. We were told we were worthless, and we believed it. Humans asked a different question. Not what are you worth, but what do you need? The galaxy is vast enough for both questions, but only one builds civilizations that last. The old Galactic Council still existed, but now it shared power with the Coalition Council. Laws were passed guaranteeing the right of all species to exist and receive aid. Quarantine zones were opened to medical assistance. The abandoned became. The protected fleet Admiral Ji-Woo Kim stood in the garden outside the new Coalition headquarters. Children from dozens of species played together while their parents worked on projects that would have been impossible under the old system. Human youngsters learned Kythera harmonic language. Thornling children showed veil dancers how to grow crystal flowers. Echo people taught meditation techniques to anyone who wanted to learn. Communications. Officer Hana Song, now Director of Galactic Communications, approached with a familiar expression. She was carrying another message from someone who needed help. Admiral, we're receiving a distress signal from the Rim territories. There's a species called the Wandering Clans. They say the local governments have declared them economically disruptive and are trying to force them into settlement camps. Admiral Kim smiled. It was the same smile she'd worn when she first heard the Kythera distress call years ago. Set course for the Rim territories. Orders, Admiral? Kim looked at the playing children, at the impossible architecture that combined technologies from dozens of species, at the crystal cities that sparkled with renewed life. We don't abandon people, she said. That's who we are. The Unity, and her escort fleet departed 3 hours later, carrying medical supplies, engineering teams, and most importantly, the message that had changed the galaxy. We stand with you. Behind them, the crystal cities sang with harmonic music as beings from hundreds of worlds worked together to build something that had never existed before, a civilization based on hope instead of fear, cooperation instead of competition, and the radical idea that everyone deserves a place in the galaxy. The Devourers would return someday, as they always did, but they would find a galaxy that had learned to starve them with joy, to poison them with hope, and to defeat them with the simple truth.